Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host, and today, sort of like a yearly event, once again, I'm with the one and only Mike Rogers. Mike, how are you doing today?
Good.
Who is Mike Rogers? Mike Rogers is the owner, publisher, you name whatever you want to call it, of Raw Story. Yeah, that stuff that ends up in your mailbox every day, that stuff that gives you all this good information that many a times isn't covered by the traditional media. Mike, how are you doing today, my brother?
Good. Plugging along here in Baltimore, having a good time.
Yeah, and
Family
well,
reunion.
yeah, and it's like you see the same progressives out here
Fighting hard.
every year, fighting the battle and trying to win the battle. But a lot of times, Mike, while we're fighting the battle, we have a whole lot of strings that are holding us back. Some of it self-imposed, some of it not self-imposed. So
Bingo.
here is the way I want to start this discussion. You are smack there, one of the top progressive media, if not the top progressive media out there. You are the top now, aren't you?
We are the largest
You're the largest,
progressive media website in the country,
bar none.
bar none.
And you did that the right way. You have people who write articles. You have people who go do some research. You bring on independent journalists that do some stuff. I mean, it is done where people interact with people and get things done.
Right.
That's the good thing. What's happening to the industry right now?
Well, as we see everywhere from small news sites all the way up to the Daily Beast, artificial intelligence has come for the news. I mean, they're targeted to the news. They know what they're doing. So many hundreds of millions of articles are being written by algorithms, stealing content from sites like ours that are doing the hard work. And it's really bad out there because these are people who want to flood the web with articles with misinformation about the presidential campaign. So we're struggling in that vein. That's like kind of the outside forces. And then we look at what we would want to think was friendly forces, right? But once again, like we've seen year after year, I've been in this business 20 years, the establishment, the DNC, the DCCC, the DSCC, the DLCC, all of this, nobody is interested in spending any money outside of media that isn't Facebook or Google.
Why is that?
Why? Because they come in and they get these bargain basement rates based on signing these contracts. You know, it's all an insider game.
Right.
An example I give is, just on a small scale to think about it. In the LGBT community, about 20 years ago, there was this grant for $500,000 in advertising targeting LGBT people online to not smoke. Big campaign. Well, we have met with them about supporting 80 different news and blog sites and all this stuff and And then the next thing you know, the weekend comes and goes, and one outlet, the largest LGBT media company, does nothing other than magazines, got every dollar. And let me tell you why, okay? Because some guy in some office was told, you got to spend that budget by today. And they know, oh, let me pick up the phone and I'll call my friend and boom, 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 done. I'm off to the beach for the weekend. They don't care. That ad buyer couldn't care less. They're a functionary. Those people are the people who work at the DNC and take off on Columbus Day 2 weeks before a national election. Those are the people. They're not truly with us. They're not converted. They're not. If they were with us, they'd work 3 weeks before election. They wouldn't say, oh, well, no. You give it and you take it afterward. But those warriors, they make too much not being real warriors and being the establishment.
It's interesting because earlier I looked at you and I said, I think the problem is it's sort of not just a historic problem, but it's a problem of who we are economically. It's a problem of our economic system and who we consider the leaders, who we consider the ones given value, etc.
Right.
You just gave a good example of the guy who did a great big ad buy a couple of weeks before the election and then jump off with the profits he made from doing
Right.
that off to a vacation,
Right.
not caring about the message at all. Just getting
Not in
it
the
to,
least.
just get in somebody who can give a big ad, the largest ad buy at the minimum cost.
Right.
That's what it is. The profit.
don't-
Yeah.
They don't realize, like, they're so short-sighted. They're like, oh, ads this. It's like the idiots in DC. No, we're getting rid of this bus stop because the bus will be faster. Well, what about the 6 businesses outside the bus stop?
Exactly.
What about them? Why are you, like, really? One bus stop? You got to make a thing? Like, that kind of thing. And it's the same. These, we're talking, they spend hundreds of millions of dollars. If they took $5 million and threw it across the liberal media sphere, what would you do with $100,000 between now and the election?
It's interesting because I want to, and that's the part of the discussion that I wanted to bring up with you. Here is what you've just made my case, and the issue is this: there are billions of dollars to get people aware of what needs to get done. And the funny thing about it is the people that get it done are the ones closest to community. So therefore, if you are close to community, why? Because you bring in independent journalists, not, let's say, the New York Times that only has a few editors and others. You bring in people from different types of communities that come into the fold. When they've spent their monies, they're going to go to the Facebook who's going to take it all, as opposed to spreading it throughout the community, where technically speaking, you get a much bigger bang for your buck. And not only that, but you can actually segment the message in the form that the people you're trying to reach understand it.
Here's the bottom line, and I know a lot of people will get upset when I say this. Folks should sit there and search on their computers, New York Times, why politicians probably don't need your money. And it's not about the politicians anymore. If it was about the politicians, Mitch McConnell, he had like $1 trillion against him. If it was about the money, Amy McGrath would be in the Senate. It's not about the money. It's about moving people. It's about getting people to be committed. It's about getting the stories out there. It's about you building the community online that you built. Is it as easy a metric to say, oh, 18,000 ads, 9,000, whatever it is? No, it's not. But there has to be a faith. You think that the right wing doesn't fund the Daily? They set up a foundation to fund their right-wing media.
Yes.
And they don't even make any bones about it. It's a nonprofit foundation called the Daily Caller Foundation.
Yes.
They make no bones about it. And with us, once again, I'm screaming into the wind.
Oh, no. Actually, I don't think you're screaming into the wind, because here's the other the other thing that I was telling you about. Right now, we all say channel your monies to these big organizations. What it is time for us to do is stop depending on the funders in that there's a bigger funding mechanism right there. And you know who showed it? Who started showing that? Bernie Sanders, and the way he funded, whether you like what he's doing now or not. If those of us in a select amount of us in this independent media space decide to say we don't need to suck on of these founders, but what we will do is really create communities that see us as an asset to them and start funding us. In what I'm doing in my little thing can never compare with the massive circulation that you have at Raw Story, but it is being built one seed at a time.
Right. It's different.
And it does encompass even using those platforms we don't care about, but we leverage them. We leverage them to do what we want them to do, which is where I think when I look at Raw Story, I look at Raw Story as the template for taking over real media.
Well,
and this is not to be kind. I'm saying that because of the prowess that you already have, if we get away from the capitalist mentality, in my humble opinion, and start changing the paradigm, figuring out ways to change the paradigm, not saying, well, the DNC isn't doing this and the RNC, or while the RNC is, or whatever. Well, if the DNC isn't doing it, maybe we create our own Daily Caller. maybe.
Well, that's what we are. I mean, we are.
No.
Right?
What?
Are
No. It's not a Daily Caller. Daily Caller Foundation.
Well, yes, we've been trying. Right there, you go.
And I missed the
But
word.
no one will fund it.
Well,
That's the thing. They look at you and they go, "Oh well, you know."
No. Here's the deal.
That's the problem.
You know, I remember there was a time in this business, right? I get a supporter who gave me $500 a month, and I was excited because it meant I didn't have to work so hard for the $2.99 a month that it costs, or the $4.99 that my average user did. And then I said to myself, "Oh my God, I need to work on my $4.99 support of the person who can give me a cup of coffee a month, as opposed to that guy who can take away that $500 at any time." And I think we build and you tell me, well, you have the mailing list. We build a democracy by trying to create that relationship. And I know it may sound, to some it may sound like, what is the word? Fiction or wishful thinking or whatever. But democracy ain't easy.
It's not. But you know, you think that it's not easy, and we build our own roadblock. Like, that's the thing. It's so difficult, and then we're busy dropping roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. I mean, you have people out there now, and fill in the blank.
Right.
Okay? Whether it's gay rights,
right,
it's environmental rights, it's the Gaza, it's Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every one of these issues, we need people to be involved in, right?
Right.
And what we're finding that, like, it gets lost in all of the mess.
Right.
That when it comes time to do the kind of community building that you're doing without the right support, and the thing is that you're right. Like, the bang for your dollar putting into this,
right,
compared to another, let's say, $5,000 for you or $5,000 for another X hundreds of Facebook ads.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, there's people who should know better, but they're judged on that.
Exactly.
And they work for companies that make profits on every ad they sell. They don't want to help you.
Exactly.
That's money away from the ads. So
and so what? But here's the thing. A lot of people, you have the option. We're almost done, but we have the option now with the platform that you have to educate and get people into knowing this sort of stuff. Because if we get to 2% of your platform, it is actually getting somewhere. So give me a closer, because I know you have some other meetings you got to attend.
I am very fearful for our democracy on so many levels right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anything that I can encourage between now and November 4th, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Or 6th? Don't worry, I'll be there.
Right.
Is to focus your energy solely on using these resources to get your friends to vote. When you see a story on Raw Story about Project 2025, taking away minimum wage or taking away overtime or doing all of those things to people, you need those stories, you need these interviews to push. And every step of every way should be about two things: registering people to vote and getting their asses to the polls. Because that's all that matters. I tell people, I don't want to hear a negative word about our party right now. I get it. I'm not stupid. I've been a Democrat for, 40
all
years?
your life, yeah.
Right, okay. Well, 1 week I wasn't, but that's
Okay.
It gave me the realization how much I had to be. And for 40, all right, I get it. We hate each other. We're mad. You're angry. You want the environment, and you're worried about labor, and you want this, and I want this, and fine. Shut up. November 4th. Let's just get through. That's the advice I would give people.
Mike Rogers, owner, publisher, Raw Story.
Go on.
Co-owner, publisher, Raw Story.
The credit.
Thank you so kindly, my brother. And look, let me tell you, we're going to win this fight. And it doesn't end here.
Right.
It continues.
The world is a lot smaller than we think.
Yes.
And when I see what happened in France the other day,
yes,
and I see what happened in the UK, this gives me great hope that the world is saying, you know what? Enough. You had your shot. Enough. So,
brother, thank you for being on Politics and Right. Mike Rogers, have a good one.
I told you I'd be around.
Great. Yeah. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.